Okay, good morning, marketeers. With me today is Todd Wheatland. Hi, Todd. How are you?
I'm great, Shimon. How are you doing?
Down in Paris, I guess.
I am, sunny Paris.
Thank you very much for joining us on this interview. Todd, one of the things that intrigued me when I was looking at your profile, is that you own the title VP Thought Leadership at Kelly Services. I haven't seen any organization that has this kind of title. Could you tell us how did it come? I mean, how did you get this title?
Yeah, it was a late night in a bar, and we were tossing up ideas as to how best to make ourselves sound important. No, really, we came to the idea of thought leadership, like I think a lot of companies, through the content marketing itself. So we came to realize that there was a very strong connection between our desire to position our leaders better, or the people within our company who were generating publications, who were speaking at conferences, who were externally visible and presenting a viewpoint into the marketplace. We realized that there was a very strong overlap between what we were trying to achieve with that group of people and the methodologies of content marketing. So coming from a marketing role myself, I've now moved into a holistic way of looking at how do we take that expertise that sits within the organization and make our internal stories part of the public dialogue about issues. So we see a very big interflow between thought leadership itself, connecting with the outside world, and content marketing.
So this was the part in your organization where you connected what you do in marketing, or in fact actually getting into conversation with your target audience?
Exactly. I mean, I think one of the great things about content marketing is that for it to really work, you have to have a genuine intent about understanding the audience.
Yeah.
You can create content to a great extent without achieving any greater objectives, because without understanding your audience and having a genuine discussion or dialogue with them, then you will fail in your objectives. So for us, it starts with the customer, starts with the audience, it starts with understanding who it is we're trying to have a dialogue with, and then can we really bring some thought leadership to that equation? And it doesn't always have to be us. In many instances, Shimon, we begin by listening and understanding a new market, and then when we actually are, when we understand our ability and our relevance for discourse in that position, then we can add value to the conversation. But many times it's us bringing in other viewpoints, other people who've maybe competitors, even analysts, journalists, writers, other spokespeople. We like to host conversations, not just say that we're the only people with answers to a solution.
Exactly. And I saw your role is actually international role, so you're global. You have a global role within Kelly. How did this come across? Because we are speaking quite often with international marketeers who are starting to deal with content marketing, and they face enormous challenges in actually adapting the content to different regions. How do you go to what is your biggest challenges in rolling out content marketing strategy globally?
I totally agree with what you've said. It is an incredibly difficult. It is a significant challenge. I think that the next few years, in particular, this is going to be a topic in its own right that will become very much an area of demand for organizations as more and more medium and even smaller sized companies start to try to address different geographical markets. For us, I think the problems are like many larger organizations face. There really is huge issues with translation, obviously. We are a large international company. However, we do not have anything like the resources in 40 countries that we have in English environment.
Yeah.
So that is a constant struggle, and the reality of resources and budgets dictates that there's a certain limit to what can be achieved. obviously there's tone issues with direct translation. There's huge fundamental challenges with the concept of translating something that originates in a single language. The other thing which I think to be honest, personally, I've become probably more 80% in terms of we are moving so quickly in an English environment. Fortunately, a lot of the work that we do is to a fairly senior level audience of B2B targets. So the use of English has become fairly widespread, even in local. I'm based in France, for example. The use of business English in France is much more acceptable than it was even 5-10 years ago.
Good to hear that.
So I think the world is making this easier. I think the internet is making this easier, but that doesn't get away from the fact that someone doing something very good in content in French is going to have a significant advantage over someone who is not and can't find that balance. For us, it always is a balance. The closer we get to real-time work, and we are doing a lot of quite short-term turnaround sort of projects in content these days, to have that sort of focus in one language, it's really quite impossible for us, with our resources, to replicate that in all languages we need it to be seen in. Yeah. That's a real current challenge for us, how to turn a real-time focus with few resources into something that's global.
Exactly, but as I can imagine, it's not only the language problem. I think it's also more that, for example, when you start content marketing, it's based on the needs and on the challenges of the target audience. So I guess that will be different themes that needs to be focused in France than in the US, for example, if you're talking about challenges and themes that you focus on, right?
Yeah, but I think in many ways we look for the thing in common. Yeah. We look for the commonalities rather than the differences. Yeah. And I'm speaking about a fairly specific area, which in our case is B2B C-suite targets. Yeah. For audiences such as ours, we really can get global impact with a baseline of content, and then we supplement that with European-specific or country-specific content generated locally or commissioned locally. So we have a multiple layered approach to ensure that there's both local specificity, or that was a very bad pronunciation of a complex word, local relevance, as well as being able to get economies of scale of spreading a message across and executing it quickly.
Yeah. Todd, you're going to present at the next B2B Marketing Forum on the 20th of March. What are you going to talk about?
I don't know. I'm hearing this for the first time. I didn't know. When is the event? Look, one of the things we've been discussing, you and I, Shimon, is content marketing, thought leadership, and obviously its connection with engagement, which is something I know you're very passionate about. So for me, that's from a case study perspective, that's really about going back to what we mentioned before, knowing our audience. Yeah. So, can you develop a persona? Do you really know what these people are doing? Because there's no chance for engagement if you're just speaking from your own voice out into the wilderness. So that you have to understand who it is you're trying to address this content to. Otherwise, you're never going to make a connection, or you will, but it's not going to be intentional. It will just be someone who's not necessarily going to meet your objectives. Yep. Could be entertaining to try anyway, but it'd probably be nice to understand your audience to begin with. Yep. So I think we'll look at that whole persona building side of things. Voice of customer is something that we're very passionate about within our organization. So understanding from those companies and organizations and individuals we are dealing with, what are they seeing? What are they feeling? What are their pain points? And that helps us to generate discussions and come back with some meaningful content for those people. And another interesting thing that I think connects very much with the topic of engagement, bridging from content marketing, is what I call outposts. And that is, where socially or online and in the real world are you visible? Are you connecting? Are you out there sharing your content, sharing ideas, and not just dumping and spamming articles and things into different worlds, but actually having a meaningful involvement in those communities? Exactly. So that's the mix, and that's where I see the connection between my world of content marketing and engagement around the topic of the conference.
Okay, great. Very curious to see you on stage.
Well, you told me I wasn't allowed to move on this Skype thing, so I'm a very dynamic presenter.
Okay, so for you guys who would like to see Todd Wheatland, Global Thought Leadership Vice President of Kelly Services, 20th of March at the B2B Marketing Forum. Thank you very much, Todd.
Thanks, Shimon. Take care.